It's Perp back with another video, and man, I just got done watching episode 2 of Pantheon. Man, this series is wild, man. I really enjoyed this episode way more than the first. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. Let's get right into this, though. I like how this episode opens up with Maddie kind of talking about her father and how her father would always talk about the smartest computer ever made was the human brain, and just seeing the birth of, Maddie, and just seeing more of that backstory before he passed, and just seeing what he used to talk about as far as not AI, but UI, which is upload intelligence, like being able to like upload your consciousness into pretty much a machine, which leads into some crazy stuff that starts to happen with David. That's Maddie's father. And also you kind of see his partner Peter, that he also played a part in just his kind of disappearance or death, whatever you want to call it at this point. But it's interesting how we're getting all this backstory throughout this in particular episode, and we get this knockoff Steve Jobs and then it's like knockoff Apple. But this is the real big bad right here. This guy on the left, he's pretty much his name is like Julius, I think, like what it is, and he is pretty much the head of Logarithm, which is the corporation that finally gets named, that was kind of like behind the scenes, the big bad of pretty much this first season, and maybe just the overall series. So Ellen's been pretty much not telling the truth about her father and what happened to her, because Maddie just thinks he has died and whatnot, but that's not really the case. And I like kind of just getting all this like flashbacks, man. It was really dope, and I really like just how well every scene is animated. This was really clean, like every panel and just every angle of each character is really dope. So now as we kind of dig more into what's going on with David, he starts to get sick, and this is what kind of leads him more to try to perfect the whole UI thing, and actually kind of just go through with it. And maybe that's another way to kind of extend his life. But his wife is kind of against that. Like, Ellen's kind of against that. It's just like, you're going to lose your humanity. What's the point? Like, I'm going to miss your touch and all this, and what I'm saying. And she was really against it, what I'm saying. And it's crazy that it starts to kind of click with Maddie, that she remembers that kind of like walking into that conversation. So yeah, man, really dope stuff. Like I said, I really like how everything is shot. You got all these different colors. It's very bright and vibrant, but also just a really dark story, because David ends up going through with it, and that's all that's left of him, and it just kind of breaks Ellen, what I'm saying? And I like the kind of symbolism throughout this whole entire episode as well, which makes Ellen more driven to kind of make things right, even if it means just kind of letting Maddie know, like, just it's okay to grieve, because she doesn't want to believe that he still exists. She doesn't want to believe in this whole AI UI thing. She just thinks that it's some type of weird thing, what I'm saying? So she tries to kind of plant the seeds in Maddie's head, like, yo, just be okay with your father being dead. Like, it's weird, yo. It's kind of messed up, in my opinion. So now going over to Caspian, because Caspian is a really interesting character, and just his interaction with Maddie. I don't know if they're aware of them just kind of reaching out with one another. He's just kind of the only person she kind of talks to online and kind of passes through information, which kind of is alarming to people that are watching, which she gets warned that, Caspian is getting watched. But also, he's trying to help out in the situation, not knowing that he's being watched. So that's interesting. So him and Hannah are starting to kind of really kick it off while they have this school project. He pretty much invites her to come over, and that leads into some really interesting stuff. But what's more interesting is back at Logarithm, you have like these undercover agents, which are Caspian's parents, you know what I'm saying? And it seems like Caspian is a kind of he's going to become like a conflict of interest, and maybe they're going to have to kind of get rid of him or somehow, or have to put him in this like upload UI situation, which it seems like the mom would be completely against, and the dad is kind of more for it because he's more about the mission, and she's kind of turned more into a mom, and it hasn't really been about work for her, even though she can kind of turn it off and on. But it's interesting where it goes. But speaking of where things go, that guy that got kidnapped in the first episode, we see what kind of happens when they try to take a piece of something out of their brain and put it into a machine. And I'm not too sure what this guy is planning, what he is trying to accomplish with this. We're gonna have to kind of wait and see how that plays out. He might be set up for a future season or something like that. I have no idea. But it's interesting seeing Ellen kind of going through her memory bank here, and just seeing David and Maddie just playing video games, which is definitely going to play into the later episodes, and I can't wait. That's going to be like the fantasy aspect of the show, and we're just now getting the sci-fi stuff, and I'm liking how this is all being portrayed and how this is all kind of being getting set up and whatnot with this second episode. It's doing a lot of really good world building, I would say. But going back to Maddie, she is getting ready to meet up with this guy that has some more information about her father, but she doesn't want to go alone, so she just kind of goes up to this random chick. I forgot her name. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But and I also forgot to mention that Caspian asked Maddie all about the DDoS attack that happened at the end of the first episode and who that was. Caspian thought it was Maddie, but she knows nothing about it. So I thought that was a little interesting thing that kind of plays into this episode a little bit more. Like, we got a lot more information in this episode, especially at this part where Peter pretty much confronts Ellen about some more things that he's been kind of lying to her about, and him kind of being the reason why David was in the situation. He kind of had no choice. They pretty much sold his soul, you know what I'm saying? But on the flip side, it kind of flipped on them because they thought they could control it. He's kind of had his own mind of its own, pretty much. And I really like this villain, the main big bad that we're going to pretty much be following throughout this first season is Julius. And Julius is really cold-hearted because this is going to set up, we're going to get like some really epic moments with Julius very shortly. So we go to the mall where Maddie is meeting up with this random stranger, but this random stranger ends up having a connection to David's disappearance, or just him getting uploaded, and he pretty much kind of breaks it all down. And it's interesting that his wife is the one that caused the DDoS attack, and she is also a person that was able to escape wherever David is. So that kind of gives her hope into pursuing her father to kind of get some type of freedom. And it's really interesting how this is all like just coming together, man. I'm just blown away at this point. Also, I do like the fact that his wife kind of resembles the chick from Ghost in the Shell. I find that to be funny. This has a lot of, comparisons to Ghost in the Shell and a lot of different type of sci-fi. But I like the way that they're handling it here. So going back to Caspian, because he's bringing over Hannah to the house. And in the background, you just hear his parents just arguing back and forth. And the mom is just like, oh, I didn't know you were bringing company over. Dad don't give no fucks, bro. Even just pushes the mom down, even though they're supposed to be in character. Which is interesting, but it makes me think, like, are they blood relatives? They can't be related. They might just be undercover and they just have to kind of live a fake life. But it's kind of obviously kind of taking a toll, and the dad is obviously taking the shit too far. You know what I'm saying? You could definitely tell. Now we get towards the end of the episode where Ellen needs to go to Logarithm to fight for David's consciousness back. But now Maddie wants to tag along because she feels like I need to be there as well too. They show up there. They start doing some shady shit before they show up, which, man, this dude, Julius Caesar, whatever you want to call him, this dude is ruthless. Because as soon as, after they get done kind of making fun of knockoff Steve Jobs and they shake hands, he just says, like, pretty much, look, right? We own David's consciousness. We're not going to delete nothing. There's nothing you could do about it. And he's really cocky when he says this. And I feel like he spoke too soon, because as soon as he started to kind of speak like this, then all of a sudden somebody completely shuts down like some of their systems and they start to lose money. Like they said, they started losing millions by the second, which is crazy, bro. That's wild. So it kind of forced his hand to now. I think Julius is going to kind of play the long game, and it's going to be interesting to see where he goes from this point on. The last scene that we get is Maddie and Ellen getting ready to just free their father, or free, David. But what ends up happening is this game starts to pop up, and this is where things are going to get really dope, and where the fantasy element is going to come into play. It almost reminds me, if anybody, shouts to all the my anime fans, if you've ever watched Dot Hack or even like Sword Art Online, I think it's going to play out something like that, where, all right, we need to go on some type of adventure to kind of figure out how to get David back into the real world or something like that. It's really fascinating, bro. It's a lot of information. It might kind of just be a lot for a lot of people, but I understand it, and I'm all for episode 3. Let me know how you guys feel about this episode. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.